It's the fastest growing demographic entrepreneurially. We outspend, over index on beauty buying. We, what is it, spend 9 billion according to Nielsen every year annually on beauty. But if you count all, that's US economy. But if you count all the stuff you buy from Alibaba and all of other places, it's upwards of like, I think it's up like 50 billion. Like we really, really outspend.
Black women are the most educated
Yes.
demographic in the country. I mean, they're talking about now trying to brand, DEI and then away from action. Anytime you see a black successful person, they talk when they got that some kind of like set aside book. No, she's the most educated. Bow down in respect. Bow down in respect. When you got people in the cabinet who are so not qualified for the position, and they get there just because they're white males, mediocre white males, pull it out, not here for them.
So been thinking about that, right? Because I love these conversations and understanding we outdex, we over index, we outspend, we are the most educated, we are the trendsetters, and we're building brands and we're building them in spite of, right? In spite of lack of resources, because I know there was a pandemic that happened and it appeared that all these brands were getting all these dollars with all these pull-ups and pledges and commitments, and everybody didn't get that money. And if they did get it, it was 5,000, 10,000. And that's really not a lot to move the needle on the work that you're doing, and you're really building institutions. And then coming back to Corey, you talked about ownership. Like those are recurring themes. And you're in your history of building retail and helping brands get into spaces like Cosmopolitan, which is huge. Like to get a brand to like a black brand to be able to actually display and present and showcase. That's amazing. And then so my question then comes back to this rebuilding the Black beauty industry, right? Because even here I see that we're scattering. I know there's this Powerhouse Pavilion and there's a Black beauty entrepreneurs, but we're even scattered as Black brands in the space. So does it feel like at one point where somebody's talking about we need to be in one space and somebody else is like, I want to be where everyone else is? How do we have this middle ground where we have a stronger or a new blueprint for success in the Black beauty industry?
That's a really issue question. And again, I go back to like benchmarks and models. There is a seed of a movement to take the Black hair care section and move it to the general market on it. So now if you go to Walmart, there's one hair care section. There's no Black hair care section. There's one. What that means, application and execution. There are less brands, less choice. And when I go back, the power behind that was not thinking about their brother. They were thinking about themselves. So to answer your question, going back to sort of how we do this, it's recognizing. Should we be in a Black space? Should we be in a white space? I think we should be in any space we want, but then when we're in that space, how we move in that space, who you are in that space, the authenticity, the integrity, the knowing that I'm in a space, but I have qualified people. I'm not saying behind me that may not be here. I'm just saying not to get your own, but when you get your own, make sure you go back. Harriet Tubman went back. She didn't say. She went back. And that's what's not happening. We have very successful people create programs to do the rank and file. We're not pulling this up by the bootstrap. And we're not taking ownership of the ground level, the grassroots level. I live in Harmon. I live in like to say the historical part of Harmon. But when you go to other sections, it's like, hey, come on now. This is not Harlem. And it has gotten to a point where I can go over. I'm not here to talk real estate, but I will say that if we sleep at the wheel, someone is waiting to take what we have through gentrification, through co-opting our space. So now they took the Black hair care space and that space now is occupied by another section, something else. Someone else is getting their chance. You got to do that. That's the bottom line.
Give you guys something to think about. Why do we even need a retailer? I know you didn't hear me, so I'm gonna repeat it again. Google in how many black hairdressers and barbers there are in the United States. When you get an opportunity, just Google that in. How many black cosmetologists, stylists, whatever you want to call it, barbers, that they are. If they were loyal to the manufacturer, you would need a retailer. You understand what I'm saying? You would need a retailer because they can kind of talk about pooling your money together. Okay, that's one of the best ways that you can ever think about pooling your money together if you were supported. And here's what I hear people say: they says, "Oh, well, I want to be supportive, but they went and they put it into the retail stores, and I can't compete with the retail store." You know why they wouldn't put it in the retail stores? Because you guys want to buy one or two of something every 2 or 3 months. How can anybody stay in business that way, right? You know, you want somebody to drive all the way across town to bring one bottle of shampoo to you, or drive across town to bring one product to you. Okay? None of us can stay in business if we operate it. What if your clients came to you one every other 3 or 4 days? How long could you stay in business? See? So that's, you force them to have to go to the retailer to be able to put it in there. Because I guarantee you that retailer's not just buying 1 or 2 or 3 shampoos when they show up in order to be able to buy it. So that's how we pull our resources together. We have enough cosmetologists and barbers in the United States that if we was just loyal, keyword is loyalty. You are loyal. Everybody said, "I'm gonna buy a dozen of this every month." You just made a commitment. "I'm gonna buy a dozen of this every month." And you take the millions of cosmetologists and barbers that make that commitment, you wouldn't be talking about retail space or Walmarts or any of these others, because that's how you would be able to keep the brands going.
Wait, I want to say something.
I want to chime in next.
Yeah, we spoke about this. Something happened with the natural hair movement. I used to run Design National. I was at L'Oreal. When I ran Design, 72% of my sales came from the Design business and relaxer. Today, relaxer is about less than 20%. I don't know the numbers. The shift with natural hair came and like the YouTubers came, there was a de-emphasis on the cosmetologists, on the professional hair person. You know, you couldn't get designing product unless you were designing certified stylist and designing certified salon. So at this show, when L'Oreal purchased designing, we did IBS. We had a whole fashion. We bought like the bottom of the closet here. They never seen it like it. And I dressed my team for a couple of things here. I put on red blazers. And black people were like, "Who do you think they is wearing these red blazers?" By the end of the 3 days, they were like, "Can I buy that red blazer? Where can I get that red blazer?" Because we came correct. So something happened. Oh, Dave! Yeah, come on, yeah! Yeah. It was supernatural.
Love to chime in.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I also want to have complacency. Complacency with brands. So I'm not going to put so much even on our community, because every day we're waking up, we're trying to fight to survive. We're trying to stay alive. And then when you're an entrepreneur yourself, you're having to think about taking care of your client, doing the janitorial services. Then you're thinking about doing your books, making sure you have proper inventory. And then the last thing you're thinking about is whatever you need. When did the brands even focus on the servicing side, right? And I think the biggest issue of the brands is not allowing themselves to become complacent. I think a lot of the relaxer brands were complacent when they didn't want to reinvest and innovate products to help support the professional community. That was a big miss, because I was the client in the chair looking at my stylist like, "What can you do?" And she's like, "I have nothing. I have nothing made available." Let alone it was only being given directly to the consumer, to us, and we didn't know what to do with it. It was very, very painful. And that's where I decided, I was like, this can't happen anymore, because I need an expert. I want the expert to my hair and my crown.
I believe in the professional. It is stopped. And I refuse for it to stop. And I think what it needs in terms of legacy businesses is starting to stand up and make sure that the products you provide have meaning and purpose. Sorry, I got passionate there, but it's just like those are the things that need to happen. And even then, we hear some of the challenges with distributors. We are perfecting our system. We're learning that we need to do better with our services inventory. So now we even have developed a system where somebody reaches out to you on the phone. Are you needing your order again? What do you need? What do you need? Do you need more education? Do you need more services? Do you need to know how to profit better so you're more sustainable? Do you need more work-life balance? Do you need more products to help the health of yourself and your clients? We're thinking and listening to the pain points, not just in the Black community, but here in America.
Purpose, power, education, performance, resources. These are recurring things. I'm gonna tell you right now, I was so honored to get these three folks on the panel because they're all in the same space. And they didn't even know they were in the same space. They were in the same space. I want to come back. So we have this piece when you're talking about purpose and reaching forward. How do we apply that? See, I got Rodney already said you need to come back if you're a Black entrepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur as well as a professional, come back, make sure you commit, make sure that you're actually pushing product and make sure that you're educating your product. So that's when we have the partnerships, right? We need those partnerships. And then you're talking about this purpose about being resourced. How then us coming, may I say this right? How then do we move the needle on even having those connections so we understand how to build in that blueprint, right? Because we see all the pieces, but then it kind of get jumbled up in this puzzle. Like it's all over the place and folks don't know what to do next. How do we then build that blueprint that makes it steady for us to not just build, but to churn through and to break through those barriers that are holding us back?
I'm going to say one word for everybody: vulnerability. I am not here today because I had confidence or this, that, and the other. That's important. But it was me allowing myself to be vulnerable and approachable in approaching others. We do not know the power of vulnerability. And I was fortunate from my great-grandmother teaching me that. That's actually my grandfather, Comer Cottrell's mother, that taught me that at such a young age. And I made myself vulnerable to reach out and ask for help and support. We don't do that anymore. And I made myself strong enough that when I heard no, it was just no today. Or they would then point me in the right direction. Or we would look and say, this no is a yes somewhere else. But I will definitely say anything to lead with today, allow yourself to be vulnerable and trust yourself that you will overcome whatever the results are to your vulnerability.
Rodney reminded we got to take questions too. But I'm here for this. I'm loving this conversation and how we're moving back and forth in this retail and legacy space. Do you all have questions that you would like answered or just yes?
Thank you.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you. Like I was sharing earlier, I'm a cosmetic chemist, and when brands come to me for product development, the very first thing they say, I want to get into Sephora, I want to get into Target, I want to get into Ulta Beauty. So my question is, how do we show them the value of working in the professional salon instead of the retailer if they can't see the level of scaling that they're able to do than just the professional salon?
You want to touch on that first one? Because she's been in retail.
Yeah.
In the shelf space as with Black cosmetic.
Yeah, I will be honest. If it's a person first starting and wanting to, they're in a position where they're just scaling to sell. They're not really interested in building a legacy, even with the brand itself. Right. So it would become, you would have to discern if this is somebody I want to partner with to help develop a product. To me, that would be more so in your position where you have the power of finding those individuals that are really believing in what they're doing, what their purpose is, what your purpose is. Focus on alignment. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, you're always, I understand that people want to go to Sephora and these brands and the retailers, they don't know what comes along with it, and they're focusing on consumer. And at the end of the day, I think this is the professional community just really does their homework on a brand. I expect, if you guys want to learn more, do your homework on New Standard. Don't buy. Do your homework first. That's where the first problem is. Again, what Mr. Barnett said, Dr. Barnett said, it was education. So if we're just rushing and then somebody just, again, there's all these quick hacks. And if they're not developing a partnership,
and see if there's a need. You know, if I'm going to open up a store, okay, I don't want to open up a store just because I can barbecue real well, right? Might not be a need for people wanting to buy barbecue in my area, that I'm in, okay? So make sure that there is a need. Let me tell you what I mean when I say that. Watch your grandfather. And when everybody was coming out with a curl, everybody was just duplicating everybody, okay? So you had 15 different products out there that said that they did curls. Her grandfather was smart. You know what he did? He looked at all them nappy kids and said, nobody's doing anything for the kids. Okay. So let's come out with a product for those kids that the mothers didn't want to sit there and try to comb their hair. That was a smart move. Okay. That was a smart move. So while all the others was just duplicating and the carefree curl, this kind of curl, this kind of curl, this kind of curl, Comer said, well, what about the kids? Okay. And what was created from that? Tell them what was created from that. Just for me. Okay. So make sure that if you have an idea, because everything always what? Starts with an idea. And then make sure there's a need for what it is that you have. Why come out with another makeup line if there's not really a need for makeup line? Everybody was doing, when I saw makeup, everybody had an oil base, okay, for African Americans. Then I saw where somebody came out with a water base, okay, and was terrific with that. Because they didn't just come out with just another product. They just been around the industry long enough to be able to know what I'm talking about. That so many companies was just doing nothing but duplicating. When you go to a store and you ask for shelf space, guys, that's premium. That's premium, okay, as to what they want to put on that shelf space. And I learned from Sam Walter, you know what he used to say? If a product doesn't move within 6 months, he wants it out of his store. And I'm not just talking about beauty products. That's anything. Okay, if a product doesn't move in his store, he wants it out of his store. So make sure you have a product that the public needs. Okay, then there's a greater chance that you'll be successful with that if you have something that's unique, not because of something that you think that the public wants.
Yeah, basically what problem are you solving? That's really the most important problem are you solving, where do you connecting back to your consumer base. Do you have something?
Yeah. I think with that, I agree with all my esteemed colleagues. But to Autumn's point, you really want to look at the vision of that particular person, if they align with you, since they're right people to partner. If someone comes to me and say they want to go to also for whatever the case may be, do they understand what that means? The cost of doing business there, the amount of samples they have to apply, the slotting fees they have to pay. Do they understand what that business model is? And if they're just following the pipe dream, there's one thing that you can educate, but you're in the R&D business. That's not your job. So a lot of the popular, feeling bright, shiny objects is, oh, I want to be a makeup entrepreneur now. Oh, I want to start my hair care line, and ride the natural hair trend. All those trends, all those ways, they're cool off and they're over. So to Bob's point, there is a market that really is ripe for tapping. And forgive me, I mean, I know this, but not since natural hair space in the body, as someone talking about the system, that's really sort of leveraging that. And you're right. I'm going to say this. there was much internal conversations within those boardrooms around African shopping. Even like 72% of sales is election. That's the creamy crap. They're never gonna love us. Fast forward, look what happened now. So things could change.
And do we have any other questions? You know, I have thought about that. Yes. It's been a brilliant life meeting, and I just wanted to ask a question like, how do you fuse your old school, you know, and you remember your Dudleys and all the other, you know, and now you have the light generation. So here you are, stylists, it's 40, 50. You're not so social, you know, they're off their own lights, so they need so many lights. And then you still have the old school where so how do you fuse that together? Because it's gonna have to be the coming together of those two to push forward in the beauty of Black beauty, because you know that's our future. And then you know they feel we're old, but
You're trying to call me in terms of Obama?
just in general, I mean, like how you talk to the future of Black owned beauty business. There are future. We're getting older. A lot of we aunties now, you know. Yeah, we're getting older. It's changing, and they look at life. You know, people they look at more than going to follow you. How many people follow you? But you're looking, so I think you find where your community is. We're talking about a community ecosystem, right? And somebody's community may be social. I post on social once every 12 months. Right. But so I know where my people are, and I think that's what you have to do is you are your people. The first thing is what problem are you solving and who are the people you're talking to when you're solving it? They're going to give you that feedback back. So like if you're a stylist and you got this oil and your friends, now it's one person who got it and then two people got it, because we are very word of mouth, especially in our community. Because we know if we go to the store, it's 12 things on here, we don't know what to buy. So you have to start where your community is. And unfortunately, it's typically never like it's not your family. Your friends are great, but it's gonna be your fans, and your fans will be different. Your friends can be social. Your fans could be they could be the people who are coming to get their hair done, and you start to say, hey, you bring people back and get a discount or something like that. But you got to build where you are. This is kind of the same thing of trying to get into a Ulta or Sephora or furniture. Build your base. You got to build your loyal base, the foundation. And they'll start telling you what they want and you give it back to them and then it'll build. Word of mouth, word of mouth. You didn't go get that sparkly lip just because you wanted it, because it was there available. You saw 5 little ladies rocking that sparkly lip and you went to go find that spot down there and have her put that on. And who showed me how you do that spark on her thing? And put that on without transfer? Oh, let me go tell my friend, girl, look what I got. And let's be clear, for women, when 2 or more are gathered, we're going to talk beauty and hair. Sacrilegious if you had it. But if we're 2 or more gathered, we're going to talk about, girl, look at them knots. Look at your curls. Who did your color? Who that pink is? Like we do that and we talk amongst each other. And that's what will happen for you to build your base first before you try to scale it out. And then you can get somebody to do your socials because you won't.
I'm going to add to that. To your point, find your community. Don't try to be something you're not. These younger brands, younger stylists, you're talking talks. That's in the business of being young. That's what they do. When you were young, you were talking the talk of being young. Talk your talk, woman, distinction, or whatever how you define yourself. And give you an example. Bobbi Brown, the white woman, she built Bobbi Brown her makeup line, sold it to Estee Lauder for boatload of money. Second, that her non-peak was up, she came back with Jones Road. It's 3 times the size of what Bobbi Brown was. And she did it talking to older women. She literally said, I'm an older woman now. I don't want to wear a lot of makeup. She has this whole no filter, no makeup look. And I forget, it's a really brilliant name, this concept that she has. No makeup. It's like a miracle balm. And it's like one makeup for everyone. It's like, look at how she built the business. And now Estee Lauder's coming back saying, we like to buy that. She's like, no, I just got here. So she's not talking to the young girls because she doesn't know what that, not necessarily she can't relate, but that's not what she is in her life. She's talking to the old women whose kids are now gone to college, who are now in like the best part of their lives, who still got a little sexiness to themselves, still, drop it like it's hot. But she's an older woman, so she came up with this whole line that's speaking to men, and it's genius. So for you, be who you are, not who you're going to be used to.
I also believe, like, when you're bringing in, like you said, the old school. So how do I attract old school? And then yet we continue to move with technology, innovation, and how do we implement that so we're successful? Because you will get left behind. And that is a concern. And I mean, that was something I had a concern about in our community. And I think it's important, again, and it's, I gotta say this word again, even as a founder, that even if you have your business, it's making yourself vulnerable and meeting people where they're at and getting uncomfortable and reaching out. Because a lot of times you can be authentic. You can have visibility. But not with the right target audience. Sometimes that happens. That happens for me all the time. We get plenty of opportunity work where we're being interviewed, but then no one's hearing the story. And then it's also just being persistent and perseverance, constantly saying and sharing your story, making sure the old school, getting uncomfortable of knocking on doors. That you literally walk and go to salons. I walk in, people find it shocking as a founder walking into the salon suite to share their story and what they're doing. Next thing I do is I get uncomfortable because I'm like ISIS, I don't like social media. But I get on social media and I post. And then I do other things when I'm being invited to go speak to NBC News with taboo conversations like relaxers. Y'all are in Dallas, we're at 10 o'clock on the news and NBC and ABC. But the thing is, it's like, again, being there to speak your points, your purpose of the industry and the changes. If you're going to do it, you have to be uncomfortable. You have to get uncomfortable and you have to make yourself vulnerable. But to me, that's going to bridge the gap with the old school, with the new school. On both ends, new school, do some of the hard work. Yes, hard work, no hats, just beating the pavement day in and day out. Yes.
Or you want to talk about old school? When he born. Okay. You know how her grandfather sold their first products in LA? Out of the back of a car. Okay. You talk about being uncomfortable in being she just only knows when Proline blew up and they had a plant and all that I worked in. But I'm from LA and Comer used to sell his product along with his brother out of the back of their car, and that's how they educated boys. Now, when I finally worked within the plant, they had a marketing department, a sales department, a manufacturing department, a research department, but that all came later, guys. That all came later. They put the work in. And as she said, sometimes we just don't want to put the work in. Yeah, we create a brand, and it's like, okay, we're going to be a millionaire now just because we created the brand. And no. You got to put the work in, guys. You got to put the work in. Now, I'm not saying you got to take your product and sell it out the back of the car. I'm just saying that's how her grandfather did. And that was how he got on the path. And then put a business plan together and sent it out. And it was so effectively done that Dallas grabbed it. And that's how he wound up coming to Dallas, and the rest of it is history. I know you weren't even born. You don't know all of it. That happened under what they told you. But
That's a product. I was in the product line. I was back in production. I think my grandfather and my parents believe in work ethics. So that was.
I love that. So y'all, we have a couple minutes here. I just wanted to just touch really quickly. We're here in this space talking about Black beauty brands and the future of those businesses with licensed professionals, cosmetologists starting out because you are the future holders, you're the key holders. And in editorial, anytime I interviewed a hairstylist, a celebrity hairstylist, the first thing they would say is, I wish they would stop doing this. I wish those young folks would stop putting the lashes on because they're not on TV. I wish they would stop putting the lace fronts on because it's not for everyday wear. They were doing and they're not being taught. Your curl pattern is different than your curl pattern is different than your curl pattern. And that influencer is only doing their curl pattern. They can't do nobody else's curl pattern. So it's you hold the keys. Rodney will tell you all day long, like if you can't educate them, then they're not gonna get it the right way. That's why they say the product doesn't work. A company's being sued because they're mad about the protein in the product, about the product, but they don't understand it's a protein that's making their hair down because they're using it every day. So they're using a product wrong and then they're mad at the person for using a product wrong. We gotta think about that. So those are the pieces that I really want when we're looking back at it. Purpose, education, partnership, how we move forward. We got a minute. I really want them to tell you how to find them. So Rodney, how we find you? Because I couldn't on the list.
RodneyBarnett.com. Okay. I always tell persons that, hey, that is my resume. That's 35 plus years of me being in the hair loss industry.
New standard that's in next understanding. So N is in Nancy next, and U is in umbrella understanding standardbeauty.com. New standardbeauty.com.
Very simple. ReadyToBeauty.com. Ready to Beauty on social media.
And new standard news. How do we spell the website?
Yeah, it's NU standardbeauty.com.
You see the
New
website
standard. Next under.
because you don't own your social media platform. They can take.
Oh no, we have social media.
No, they have it, but I appreciate that you did websites, right? Follow them because you can go get everything else from the platform. But you don't own social media. So even when somebody said I got 1 million TikTok followers, didn't you lose access to that for like a week or a couple of days in January? I'm just saying you don't own it. I know big brands, 2 million followers lost everything, like and had to start over. So that's where we are. Follow the websites, come talk to them, learn more about them, and then get a license with Sadiaa, SADIAA.com. We are a platform that wants to actually see, celebrate, and feature you. So come talk to us as well. So yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
All right, let's give these beautiful, beautiful people a round of applause. Thank you guys so much. That's the best we can do. All this Jim, thank you. Thank you. You know, it's the best energy you can. Thank you guys so much for this particular panel. We greatly appreciate you guys. Can we get a picture of them real quick? Also, hold your seats. Do not forget, we have the North American Hairstyling Award Educator of the Year, Miss Kia Neal, with her texture versus race crew coming through. We're going to be examining deep dive rollbacks in the beauty industry with her and Maya Smith starting at 4 o'clock. So let's make sure that we keep everybody in the seats. Let's make sure that we pack the house and continue to celebrate Black excellence in the beauty and barber space. All right? All right. Let's go. DJ.